The NBA has no shortage of inspiring stories, but Demar DeRozan has got to be up there. I mean, it's not every day that someone with a deep affiliation with a gang not just made it to the NBA, but collects 9-figure salaries. Demar may be a tier short of a superstar, but that's besides the point. Stellar is what you should call a person who took on so many tragedies and heartbreaks in his life and comes out on top. DeRozan's gang ties were not his choice by any means. He was born in the city of Compton, the geographical center of Los Angeles County, as the only child of Frank and Diane DeRozan. In his neighborhood, everything is centered around one known affiliation: the pocket hood Compton Crips. Whether he liked it or not, that was his identity, the outcome of birth and circumstance. It came before religion and even before race. Because gang activity is very much a part of his life, drive-bys and funerals are very common. After all, the Crips is not the only crew around. The rival Bloods own some territories in Compton too. Demar became aware of what death was when he attended his Uncle Kevin's funeral at the age of 5. He had been shot right through the heart by a member of the rival Bloods gang. Demar remembers how Kevin was one of the biggest Crips in Compton. Beginning at that age, violence was a daily occurrence in Demar's life. He witnessed drive-by shootings at funerals and people die at funerals. He lost his best friend at school to gang violence or somebody he was in class with on random days. That extra drama caused Demar to carry hatred and frustration everywhere he went. He once had said, "At a young age, I lost one of my best friends to gang violence. I lost a lot of people before I even graduated high school." You're talking about sitting next to somebody in class on a Monday, and Monday night, that was the last time they'd ever be seen. Come back to school Tuesday and their stuff is still on their desk. Things like that constantly happened. The best friend had a name: Davian Childs. Childs was shot because of a fight over a dice game. It hurt so much, he said, he couldn't bring himself to the funeral. Demar aptly described these situations as the worst thing a kid had to go through. He had to learn the code of the streets to survive, where to go and where not to go, and all that stuff. It's the unwritten law of the Compton jungle, and Demar knew he needed to be aware of these things so he won't be the one lined in chalk next. As his mother Diane would put it, "You're here today and maybe gone tomorrow. You have to make the best of it." Not long after this, Demar found a sanctuary for himself in the form of sports. Frank made sure he brought him to any sporting events, be it baseball, football, or basketball. Frank, who's 6'4" and 260 pounds, played linebacker in his school days in Louisiana. He'd show Demar and any other kid tough love, knocking them down, blocking their shots, and talking trash. Eventually, DeRozan became so good at basketball, he then decided to play at Compton High School, where he would still be close to home. He was dominant from the outset, averaging 26.1 points per game as a freshman. He averaged 29 points per game as a senior, and throughout high school, he was nicknamed Debo, the bully from the film Friday, taking everyone else's lunch money. Demar was doing the bullying on the basketball court all the time. He was named a Parade All-American and was invited to participate in the Jordan Brand Classic, Nike Hoop Summit, and McDonald's All-American game, earning him a 5-star rating. It looked like the stars were lining up for Demar this time around. Aside from making a name for himself on the basketball circuit, he was essentially untouchable because of an unwritten rule called Hooper's Pass. This previously agreed-upon street pass prohibited gangs from putting their hands on DeRozan and other high school basketball players so they could concentrate on what they did best. At one time, though, that almost didn't work. When he was on his way to his favorite practice spot, 2 gangsters approached DeRozan and threatened to kill him. It's a good thing he pulled up the Hooper's card in time, so the criminals left him alone. Throughout his high school years, DeRozan was making a name for himself. Only Drew Holiday and B.G. Mullins were ranked higher, and he was rated above Kemba Walker and Klay Thompson. He may very well be the best player Compton ever produced, and it's not even close. But just as rivers always flow to the sea, tragedy seemed to follow DeRozan like the plague. One Sunday afternoon, when Demar was still in 7th grade, he noticed Frank continued drifting to the right on the freeway. He pretended everything was okay, but the rumble strips told Demar otherwise. When they got to his older half-brother Jermaine's place, Frank was still acting silly, but Demar discovered that he can't pick up a domino with his left hand. The next day, the fear became a reality. Frank had a stroke and needed to be hospitalized. The older DeRozan never cried and was still acting tough, that is, until he saw Demar go through the hospital room door. Frank was weeping when he told his son, "I can't die," he said. "I can't die until I see you make it." Diane was also diagnosed with lupus at this time, a painful autoimmune illness that causes the body's tissues and organs to fight itself. With neither of his parents in good health and Demar already dunking on men twice his age, his path appeared to be set. DeRozan accepted his fate. He had to get to the NBA because, as he said, he had no other options. He held his end of the bargain, but it wasn't all a bed of roses. Frank pushed him even more to do great, shouting constant profanities in his ear. Again, that tough love. In college at USC, Demar was like a deer in headlights. Everyone had cars, laptops. Most of them are from LA, but not Demar's neck of the woods. He felt he couldn't communicate with everyone else, but then again, there's his safe haven, basketball. He survived his freshman year with flying colors. He averaged 14 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.5 assists, shooting over 52% from the floor. His postseason was even better, averaging almost 20 points in 5 outings, including outplaying James Harden in the Pac-10 Tournament Championship. When the NBA draft came around in 2009, he was picked 9th by the Toronto Raptors and went on to become one of the greatest to wear a Raptor uniform. His Raptor days are well behind him, but he was still a heads-up player for San Antonio, and now Chicago. He doubled down on himself, making a living as a slasher and a mid-range scorer extraordinaire. Demar was never a great three-point shooter, but he's constantly working on that part of his game. As a Bull, DeRozan made 2 straight All-Star teams in 2022 and 2023. In addition to the 4 occasions he went to the Midseason Classic representing Toronto. DeRozan has gone through a lot. He lost his father to sickness on February 19, 2021, and the experience of his childhood still follows him like a shadow. It's no surprise that the Bulls star struggled with depression, something DeRozan has freely discussed in recent years, with mental health awareness becoming a massive part of his advocacy. DeRozan has not forgotten his roots or the value of giving up. Compton has shaped him into what he has become, and he's wearing it as a badge of honor. "This city has so many greats and different areas you can look up to," DeRozan said. "You got Kendrick, you got Serena Williams, you got me when it comes to basketball. You got so many people that have come out of Compton that make it great. You got Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. There are so many things that people are doing great." DeMar DeRozan is now 33 years old, but it doesn't feel like his on-court performances are tapering off. The Bulls front office should do a better job building a team around him, obviously, but it's not like those things are under his control. He has averaged 26.2 points, 5 assists, and 4.9 rebounds in 150 games for the Bulls in his career. If anything, he's still playing the best ball of his career. Maybe it's that Compton upbringing and the experiences he had. Basketball may sometimes be difficult, but it's nothing like he's ever seen. If DeMar went from being a gangster to one of NBA's best players, he can do anything.